Boy Kills World is a new dark action comedy that stars Bill Skarsgård, and well, he comes pretty close to doing it. There is a lot of killing in this movie.
Can we all just get along?
Welcome back to Poprageous, I'm Danny Alex. This is a spoiler-free review, and at the end I'll give you my score out of 10, so check it out. As a screenwriter, I'm always looking for movies that try to tell stories in a new way, or ones that use a unique approach, whether it's perspective, style, or mood. Boy Kills World has been done before, but it does have its own style and delivers a unique story in its own kind of unique flavor. The easiest way to describe it is Hunger Games meets John Wick meets Kill Bill. Boom, that's your movie. It's a dark action comedy that takes violence and death to an over-the-top place using fight scenes not only for action's sake, but also to inject a sadistic style of comedy that helps tone down some of the movie's brutality. And man, it can be brutal at times.
Put it on visual.
It's pretty obvious who this movie is made for. The John Wick crowd. A male audience that loves fast-paced action with generous amounts of extended fight sequences. And man, they are making a lot of these kinds of movies. There are things to like about Boy Kills World and some things that can turn you off. If you don't like long, intense action and fight scenes, this movie is not for you, period. It's that simple. It's a revenge-based story with a plot that exists only to set up its next fight scene. It's all about bloody vengeance, and you have to give Bill Skarsgård a tip of the hat, as he did a serious amount of prep for this movie, and it shows. I mean, some of the things he was asked to do were quite extreme, and it looked like he did, for the most part, all of his own stunts. It's very impressive.
Impressive.
His character doesn't even have a name, it's just Boy, spelled exactly as it sounds. Boy. The interesting thing about him is that he's a deaf mute, so the movie uses his inner monologue as spoken thoughts using a voice of a fictional childhood video game narrator. It's a unique way of giving the protagonist a reason for the audience to be sympathetic towards him, because you know his condition has to be part of the reason he's out for revenge. The characters are done in a snatch style, if I can use that analogy. They weren't as vivid or distinct, but their personalities are clearly defined by the role they play in the story. Polarized, two-dimensional characters, cardboard cutouts with predictable reactions. But hey, that's what this movie needs them to be and nothing more. Otherwise, it probably wouldn't work. There's no need to develop them beyond cartoonish simplicity to fulfill their role in this movie. It's called Boy Kills World, not the piano, not the Black Swan.
Flawlessly logical.
What this movie does, it does well, and anyone who likes this genre is probably going to like this movie.
Rejoice!
It's a movie that knows its audience and how to cater to them. But there are plenty of reasons not to like this movie as well. For starters, the world building is pretty weak. It only does what it needs to get a general feel to show the world these characters live in and the rules that govern it. You can tell that in some scenes they had a very limited budget. They only had $25 million to work with for the whole movie, so polishing off the last 20% for a more refined feel wasn't going to happen. The money just wasn't there. But the fight scenes, they were way over the top, which is both good and bad. It will turn some people off, while others will say it's the best part of the movie. For me, it did feel like the fight sequences went on for too long, to a fault. A couple of people even walked out during the final fight, which was a 10-minute slugfest. In one part, the shaman cut massive deep gouges into the arm and leg of Bill Skarsgård, and there was no blood. I'm asking myself, where's the blood? What, no blood? Is this Deadpool or something? With those kinds of wounds, a person would bleed out in a matter of minutes. But this is Hollywood, baby, and Boy Kills World is the kind of movie that has no intention of following the rules of physics or biology. It's the kind of movie where guns and any weapon of mass human destruction could not be fired unless it was on screen. If you can't see it, it cannot be shot and it cannot kill the main characters. There were literally dozens of soldiers that could have easily shot and killed Skarsgård and his sister dozens of times.
That doesn't make sense.
Which brings us to the movie's use of plot armor. It's thick and heavy in this movie, and all logic was thrown to the curb by design so that large elaborate fight scenes can take place. There are a couple of plot twists that gave the story a much needed pulse, which felt non-existent through a large part of the movie. They revealed the twist in a 5-minute flashback sequence. Now, this isn't the best way to do it, but in this case, they pretty much had to. Otherwise, they'd have to build a lot more story early on to try and show the audience how everything really happened. That takes a lot of time and a much deeper story development, something the director and the writer of Boy Kills World had no intentions of doing. This is a revenge action comedy with a basic plot and a whole lot of fight scenes. Another thing that you have to do is buy into the idea that a 110-pound girl can defeat a 220-pound guy. They're putting this into every action movie now, so you better get used to it. There's a reason why boxing and kickboxing weight classes move up in only 5-pound increments. 5 or 10 pounds makes a massive difference in a fight, let alone 100 pounds or more. Another thing is the helmet situation. Boy's sister wore a helmet, and something that I find irritating is when a character punches and/or headbutts a person while they're wearing one. There is no situation where this is going to work out very good for the bones in your fist or your skull. These kinds of movies can get boring for me. I was a kickboxer for almost 8 years, and watching fight scenes that go way beyond any semblance of reality makes me begin to lose interest. If I could have made one small change to this movie, just one small one, I would have written a little more story and had shorter fight sequences. They felt way too long, but like I say, it worked for the crowd that this movie is intended for. And the fact that they filmed this whole movie for only $25 million, I mean, that's pretty impressive as well. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm giving Boy Kills World a score of 6.5. Bill Skarsgård did a great job, and he is easily the standout in this movie. The fight sequences were intense and weaved in a dark comedy that gave this movie character and likability. But it has very weak world building with a basic revenge story that doesn't give you any sort of satisfying payoff. And that's all I have to say about Boy Kills World. Subscribe if you want to hang out, and I will see you in our next video. Cheers.